Um, How do I cope with the ups and downs? Tequila. So in this class, we're going to talk about developing the mindset that helped me start and grow Spanx for the past 20 years. And it's going to talk about how you can find your purpose, how to make a product, how to market a product, and how to sell a product, and truly just how to take any idea from the idea stage to the market. I'm Sara Blakely, and this is my masterclass.
Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. It's Lewis P here. Today what we're going to be talking about is the Sara Blakely Teaches Self-Made Entrepreneurship. But it's a lot more than that as well. Whether or not you're a business person, you're a complete veteran, we're going to answer, is it worth it for you? We're going to log into the class itself as though you've just invested in it and try and figure out, is it worth it for you? And should you invest in something like this, some education? We're going to look at it from both a pricing perspective. We're also going to look at it from an experience perspective as well. So what I'm going to do right now is actually stop you. And if you look on the top right, there is another masterclass called the Chris Voss Masterclass. Now, if you are a B2B business person, go and watch the Chris Voss Masterclass. It's up here somewhere. It should pop up. However, if you're a B2C business person, aka you're selling to customers, FMCG goods, anything that sells to just the average customer like you and me, you definitely want to check out the Sara Blakely Masterclass. So I'm just pre-warning you here. If you're a B2B person, check out Chris Voss. If you're a B2C person, check out Sara Blakely for sure. So you want to check this video out to the end. So as always, guys, there's a link in the description which will get you the masterclass for an unknown amount right now. This is the price from Australia, aka the A is there. So let me know how much you get it for in your region. Tell me where you're from and then how much it is as well. And they're constantly updating their prices almost on a weekly basis. So, you know, you could probably click my link and it'll, like today, and it'll probably be a different price to what you see tomorrow. And I think what they're trying to do is just figure out what works and what doesn't. And, you know, that makes sense as, you know, that is the nature of business, you know, optimizing your price, which Sara Blakely actually talks about, which is quite interesting, by the way. She talks about, like, for example, and this has just come to mind, where she's talking about her first ever sales job and how she undercut her competitors. No one was talking to her. She matched her competitors. No one was talking to her again. And then she had the same product, but she went 10% above the competitors and people were talking to her as a result. So these are just like little snippets that you pick up from the masterclass that you remember that ultimately you apply to your business, which is pretty powerful. Either way, so there are two types of masterclass bundles that have on offer, right? So of course there is the single access masterclass as well as the all access masterclass. Again, the price is different for everyone. I'm from Australia, so let me know if you're in America or Europe and you see a different price, but there is a difference between the single masterclass and the all access masterclass, of course. The single masterclass gives you access to the Sara Blakely Masterclass for life and it's yours forever. Your exposure to their community and all those things is just yours forever. There's no month-on-month fee or anything like that. You buy it once, you get it forever, voila, it's great. However, the all access masterclass gives you access to everything. So if you want to learn from, you know, Gordon Ramsay or Chris Voss or Natalie Portman or whoever it is, Anna Wintour's a great one. I'll actually have a link to that in the description below as well. I have a complete review of her. The point is, she's the owner of Vogue, for God's sake, or Marc Jacobs, it doesn't matter. The point is, you get it. You get access to everything, which is pretty insane as far as I'm concerned. And I'm always getting these questions from the community members and asking, you know, has she ever done anything like this? She has a lot of content on the internet, but to be honest, the big separator with this masterclass and really everything else that she's done are really the case studies where you see her interacting with other business owners from like a marketing, sales, and even just like a general business strategy perspective, and also the exercises that come along with getting a masterclass like this. So this is definitely above and beyond the traditional type of masterclass that you would otherwise get, or even just her content that you can find on the internet through her interviews with like Oprah and all that stuff. The point is, this masterclass is extremely powerful in that context. Those types of insights from those case studies and all those things are, in my opinion, 10x the value of this entire class, because obviously she's a billionaire, right? And not every day do we have the opportunity to talk to a billionaire and get advice from them. At the end of the day, if you're a business person and you have exposure to these types of people, and of course, the biggest thing she teaches you how to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. So these are some of the things we're going to cover once we log into the masterclass and show you exactly how it works. So let's show you an overview of how MasterClass works right now. I'm going to have a timestamp that's coming up on your screen right now that's going to indicate when the lesson plan review starts when I log in. So you can just skip to that area now if you don't know what MasterClass is about, so go for it. However, for those that don't know what MasterClass is about and you're new here, I'm just going to take you through how it works in general. So let's jump into it right now. Now, here is the landing page that you're probably going to see once you click my link in the description. Of course, you can explore other classes if you get the All Access Masterclass. Chris Voss is an absolute beast. If you want to learn from Anna Winter, Bob Iger. Of course, you can watch it on all your devices, your TV, your computer, your mobile, your tablet. Now, of course, Mac OS, if you're a Mac person, Apple Mac person, that's great. If you're a Windows person, it works for you. It works on everything. They've invested a lot into making this the real deal for you, so take advantage of that. Of course, you can get the Masterclass subscription. Remember, that is only the All Access Masterclass, which gives you access to everything and everything that they release. They pretty much release a new Masterclass every month. Endless Education, you already get that anytime, anywhere. Of course, it's all online as long as you have an internet connection and unlimited downloads, which is great. And here are some frequently asked questions that you can check out as well. What is Masterclass? What is included in the Masterclass membership? Where can I watch it? But either way, let's jump into the Masterclass right now. All right, so this is exactly what you see once you invest in the Sara Blakely Masterclass. And just to give you a quick overview so you get comfortable with this, there is search, which means you can just search whichever Masterclass you want to look at. You type in Gordon Ramsay, cooking, whatever you want. You can check that. You already know that now. You can now look at the different types of areas. So if you want to look at science and technology, you can look up Chris Hadfield or Neil deGrasse Tyson's Masterclass. Or if you want to go into more business and politics, Howard Schultz, CEO of Starbucks, Paul Krugman. A lot of people don't like him for some reason, but hey, he's a pretty beast economist as far as I'm concerned. And of course, biggest point in all of this Masterclass is this, which is what I'm about to show you, and that is access to the community itself. Now, let me establish something for you really quickly, that there is a difference between this community and this community here. So this community that I'm highlighting over now is the Sara Blakely Masterclass community. That's where you just talk about the Sara Blakely Masterclass. However, this community up here, this is the overarching big community for Masterclass itself, where, there are contests, there are networking, there are student highlights where there's competitions and people present together and they meet up and all those things. Pretty powerful. One of the most valuable things in the entire Masterclass product, in my opinion. And that's what makes the All Access Masterclass really powerful, because it gives you exposure to all of the other communities. Quick lists, a playlist, you don't even need to care about that. My classes are redundant for me because I already own all the classes because I have All Access. And of course, the Lewis P, this is just profile bookmarks, browse trailers if you want to. And of course, you can give this as a gift. Christmas, birthdays, weddings, even if you want to go that far. But hey, giving the gift of education is, pretty powerful. And then of course, and as always, guys, I have a link in the description. So take advantage of that if you want to rock and roll and give that to someone, especially if they're into business, or if they're into writing or sports and politics or poker, for example, or chess. Go check it out. Go have a look at the different masterclasses and you'll see them. And as a final note, before we dive deep into the actual masterclass lesson plan, what I'm going to do now is just show you the workbook. Now, the workbook is really great. It's very hard to download. You got to click that button and then it downloads down there, and then you click it and then there's the masterclass workbook. But the point is, this is a 50-page workbook. It's actually relatively big in my opinion. There's a lot of insight in here, and I'm only going to show you the first page just so I'm respectful to everyone else that invests. So, this is an introduction, which is an indicator of the first lesson. I'm just going to leave this here. If you want to read it, pause the video and go read it. Have fun. You're welcome. So let's kick off with the lesson plan. So let's start with lesson 1 and how it works. The way a video works is like this. There is, of course, the video, which you just watch. There is an overview of it. There is the lesson discussion, which is where people start talking. So there are only 46 comments in the first lesson. If I go all the way down to the bottom, like 13, there's only 10. And let's go to the last one, 214. So there's quite a few people that watch this. And here we go. Oh my God, thank you. I've just listened to the podcast about Sara Blakely. Read that yourself. I'm not going to read that. Let's rock and roll. So lesson 1 is all about finding your purpose. You meet your instructor, self-made billionaire founder of Spanx, Sara Blakely. Sara talks about her journey as an inventor and entrepreneur, sharing that her ultimate purpose in life and business is to serve women and make products for women better. So this lesson goes for 8 minutes. It's a good introduction of who she is, and you're probably not investing in this if you already don't have a somewhat of a background about who she is. She's an absolute beast, and she does ultimately provide a lot of value to a lot of women, which is cool. Lesson 2 is all about developing your big idea. So Sara Blakely explains the importance of dedicated thinking time for developing your idea. Learn how to filter your ideas, how to differentiate yourself from competitors, and when to actually utilize the legal system to get your ideas patented, your formulas patented. And she goes into the stories here where she talks about the products that she went and patented herself, where she didn't want to go spend like $13,000 for a patent. And in essence, what she did was she went and read a patent book and figured out how to do it themselves and just paid the lawyer to do the final piece, which ended up costing her $800 to file a patent, which is really good for back in the day. Either way, this lesson talks about, let your mind wander, ask yourself why. She's a big advocate of why do I exist? Why am I doing what I'm doing? How do I help me? And why am I providing the best product for these customers? Filter your ideas, learning how to filter them, name your products early, when to share your idea, to patent your product or not to do it, and here are the different scenarios in which you should make those decisions, providing a service, and of course, establishing your difference relative to your competitors. So lesson 3 is all about the entrepreneurial mindset. So to succeed as an entrepreneur, you need to develop the right mindset. Sara teaches you to train your mind to embrace failure. So, looking at failure from a perspective of, I've just figured something out and I've learned as a result of that failure. So look for the hidden lessons in challenging times. You have Martin Luther King that's always saying, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of triumph, but in moments of conflict and controversy. So, visualize and set your intentions and aim high. Don't aim for 100,000, aim for 10 million. So choose how to think, set your intentions, aim high, redefine failure, and of course, honor the customer. So if you're selling aftershave, honor the male. If you're selling Spanx, honor the feminine. And she talks you through that mindset. Very powerful. Now, there is a lot more mindset things that you can learn. So that's 16 minutes and 30 seconds. Now, of course, with mindset, there's actually a lot more that you can talk about, especially dealing with your ups and downs. And while tequila is great, there are other ways to do it. And I actually teach those things in my little business called the Online Creator Institute, where I actually teach people how to make YouTube content. So if you want to go check that out and learn a bit more about your mindset as an entrepreneur, as a creator, or anyone that's in the business world, go check that out. Lesson 4 is all about prototyping. Sara teaches you her time-tested prototyping tactics, including how to gather consumer feedback, basically via market research, and capitalize on your weaknesses and utilizing others to really fill those gaps, or alternatively learning how to figure it out yourself. And she calls it being, I think, messy. In other words, it's being agile in your company or being agile as a business owner. So being able to pivot and do different things. So what Sara Blakely does is allocate specific days for, like, Tuesday's her marketing day, Wednesday's her product day, and etc. And you learn about how she allocates her time, which is extremely valuable to hear from the talent's mouth, if you will. So, where it all starts, collect feedback, anticipate objections within your customers, keep cost in mind every single time, obsess over the customer. Is it ready to sell or is it not? Should you be pivoting or should you be abandoning products? And iteration never really stops, otherwise known as innovation and all these things that improve the product for the customer. Now, lesson 5 is where it gets pretty cool. And I really like this structure, what MasterClass has done. So what they do is in lesson 5, 6, 7, you learn how to make it, you learn how to sell it, you learn how to build brand around it. And then of course, here is a case study with a real life entrepreneur, one-on-one interaction. And that's where all the value comes from in this masterclass. It's these case studies. It's you seeing her interact with, someone like us and guiding them, their mindset or their direction, or giving them ideas on what they could potentially do. Lesson 5 is all about making it. So as an inventor, Sara continues to test the boundaries with manufacturers, whether that's innovation based on technology or manufacturing technology, because she does explain how, 20 years ago when she started this company, there were certain innovations that she just wasn't able to pull off. However, today with all these, tech things that are out, she's able to actually create really good products as a result of that. So she encourages you to think outside the box and teaches you tips for choosing a manufacturer, what to look out, how to negotiate so you don't get ripped off. And that could potentially save you hundreds of thousands, just those tips right there. And of course, diversifying for leverage within those manufacturers. Some of the topics include smashing that like button for the YouTube algorithm, taking no as a compliment, choosing the right manufacturer, don't assume anything like as though you know anything, ensure quality from the start, from the get-go, because ultimately your customer is going to figure that out or not, and you don't want to be branded with low quality stuff unless you want to go for volume and that's what your business is. And hey, everyone's different like that. Of course, negotiating minimums and what's involved in that, and diversifying to gain leverage with your manufacturers. Very powerful stuff there. Then once you've made it, you learn how to sell it. A master salesperson who started her career by selling fax machines, which I've already alluded to, Sara shows her practical advice to sales, including how to understand your customers, turn a no into a yes, and face your fear in sales. Now again, this is a B2C, business to consumer masterclass. Sara Blakely is a professional at that. She'll teach you how to work with manufacturers, and that's great, but she won't teach you how to sell businesses and sell business products. And that's where the Chris Voss masterclass comes in, and that is more B2B sales. So I'm just warning you now, if you're a B2C type of business owner, this is definitely a class you want to look into at investing. And of course, there are tax incentives at this as well because it's an education expense. Either way, that's the selling lesson. Then of course, there is the marketing component. So you make it, you sell it. Now now you market the thing and you build awareness. Spanx became the brand it is today by creating a product women love and share by word of mouth. There's a reason Oprah promoted this without being paid, and that's a pretty big deal. Sara encourages you to lead, aka market, with your origin story and create buzz through creative marketing tactics. And she goes through all of them, which is pretty cool. So speak to your customer and do market research and figure out what exactly do they want to hear and what do they want. Stand out via these certain methods. Don't be afraid to utilize humor. You see some of the marketing endeavors Spanx used by using comics and really funny humor like that women understand. Of course, their target audience understand. Break conventions. Go against the grain in certain areas. Prioritize PR placements and understand how that works. There's a reason Oprah and all these big celebrities ended up endorsing this product, because the product was so good and Spanx understood their customer so well that it just resonated with everyone, and there's a reason why she's a billionaire. How to strategize social media and what to use and what not to use, especially if you're big on Instagram, huge on Instagram. You want to actually take her advice here, and of course obsess over the product as much as you possibly can. And then once you've understood how she builds brand awareness, this is where the biggest value comes in, and this is where she talks with the other entrepreneur. In this case, it's KJ Miller, the founder of Mented Cosmetics, which is a cosmetics company targeted towards darker women, which is pretty interesting. And then they discuss the importance of differentiation in retail, how to handle product releases and what they should be doing, and how having a hero product is so critical to any business success, and leading with your origin story. And of course, KJ Miller had a really cool background story that isn't as in-depth as Sara's, but the way they interact is you're interacting with Sara herself, which is invaluable in my opinion. Then of pricing and positioning. How do you price the product? And I've already alluded to this in some way where she was selling fax machines, but pricing is obviously one of the most important components of a business. Sara offers tips for aspiring entrepreneurs on how to create perceived value through pricing and develop distribution plans and navigate discount strategies and all these things. Some of the topics include create perceived value via your pricing methods, how she priced Spanx, know your distribution plan in order to navigate those pricing. So she has some rule of thumbs that you really want to listen to, especially like what is the cost for manufacturing, and then there is a certain markup you need to adhere to in order to make a profitable business, and she explains what those markups need to be. Navigating distribution tiers and understanding like the levels of distribution, so obviously that's volume based. Strategize the discounts and how to actually get those discounts. And as you can see, these lessons are beyond awesome. I'm getting a business class from the best, and there is something that someone just said, which is cool. Positioning case study. So once you understand pricing and positioning, here is a real world environment with an actual entrepreneur on how to do it. And that is, again, these case studies, this one, the Mented, well-round, and of course, again, we're going to see it in the next one, lesson 11, building a culture. Company culture is a top priority for Sara. You even saw it at the beginning of this video. They're actually walking around the office with their product, which is quite funny, especially as Spanx continues to grow with all this competition around. She stresses the importance of hiring for your weakness, empowering employees through culture, and creating a culture that embraces learning from failure. You don't be hard on people, and you ultimately just, you hire slow and you fire fast. So some of the topics in here include early hiring. What does that mean? Prioritizing cultural fit above everything else. There are hard skills that you just need to hire for, and that's just something you need in business. For example, if you need like a CMO or a head of marketing type person, they need to have, of course, in-depth knowledge of that space, or a CFO, they need to understand those. Someone just can't pick those skills up within a week or two, or even 3 months. That's pretty hard to do. Fire fast, stay scrappy, which basically means staying agile and being able to pivot within your role. So one day, if you're a marketing person, you shouldn't be afraid to go and, lift those boxes and enabling other departments if that needs to happen. So that's what stay scrappy means, being able to dip your toes in other areas of the business, and that inherently defines your culture and sets the tone and ultimately gives back to employees as well. And then of course 12 is the case study. So now you actually speak to Jake Miller in this case, where you see his coffee company, and she discusses why it's so important to have this culture in the company, and how he's scaling his company from 25 to 30 people, and what are the things involved in that, and what those tips are. So Sara Blakely really gives you insight onto how to look at your products, how to price and position yourself through this well-round, how to build that culture through talent and teams. Lesson 13, Sara details the development of a few of her most successful products, providing more insight into various stages of the product development process, including naming, innovation, iteration, and of course, differentiation relative to the competitors. Very cool lesson. It only goes for 6 minutes and 37 seconds. However, it is, in my opinion, one of the most impactful lessons in the entire masterclass. And then, of course, the survival survival guide. This goes for 15 minutes, so it isn't just small. And you can already see with the discussion, like, which is the final video, 15 minutes. Oh my God, thank you. I've listened to this podcast before, and this was definitely more guided and more detailed. And that's where this value of the masterclass comes from. She's going into things, I mean, you see emotion in Sara that you would never otherwise see. And that's why there's a reason why the start of my video was like that, because you're seeing the full range of who this human is and how powerful she is as a leader. So Sara shares her wisdom for surviving the ups and downs of the entrepreneurial life, learn the grounding philosophies that were key to her success, from building a support system and bucketing time to manage self-doubt. And therein lies shows the real value of this masterclass by Sara Blakely. Of course, we've already taken you through the class workbook. So that is the Sara Blakely masterclass in a nutshell for you. I know this was quite a lengthy video. However, my ultimate recommendation is this. Is it worth it for you? The answer is yes, provided you are selling B2C products. So if you're selling to everyday consumers like yourself or me, that is fine. You definitely want to invest in this and try and capitalize it as a tax deduction, as a business education expense. Now, if you're selling to other businesses and you want to improve that, there are other classes that are just as good for you. The main one that I would argue is the Chris Voss Masterclass or even the Bob Iger Masterclass. Those two are perfect for the B2B space. There's a lot of information there that can provide you value. So that's really it, everyone. If you're B2C, invest in the Sara Blakely Masterclass. If you're B2B, go for something like Chris Voss or even the Bob Iger Masterclass, which I'll have a link to in the description below. What I'm going to do in an upcoming video is actually do a complete comparison video of the Sara Blakely Masterclass versus the Bob Iger and Chris Voss Masterclass all in one. And I think that's going to be very exciting. So make sure to smash that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and everyone, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Lewis P. out.